everyone, it's Julia. I recently purchased this really fun face stencil, and I want to make a whimsical bag using that stencil. This is a piece I found at the thrift store, and I believe it's a Roman shade. I also got this beautiful fabric panel from a viewer. I'm going to use some of that. I want to fussy cut some of this panel, so I am going to put a paperback adhesive on the back side of it. I'm using the Stencil 2, which is a product that has two papers. One of the papers has the adhesive, and the other paper is similar to a parchment paper. So I put my piece in between, and I am just pressing on that parchment paper side. Just going to rough cut this out. Flip it over, and I'm also going to just give it a quick press on the opposite side. And then I'm going to just take my time, and I'm going to fussy cut some of these flowers and some of this piece out. This is what I'm going to use for the hair of my little stencil. I do have just a piece of white cotton, and I'm putting my stencil over the top of that white cotton. I'm using ink here that is the archival ink, which is a waterproof ink, so it works great for fabrics. And I'm using a makeup brush just to get that, just the face part of that on my little piece. And then I'm going to remove that paper back. Now, what's wonderful about Stencil, it has got a tackiness to it, so you can reposition and you can move things around. And I just laid down that piece of parchment paper there, and I'm just working on trying to decide how I want to just arrange this really beautiful fabric. This was on the side of that panel, and I'm trying to figuring out, I'd like to add a little piece for her neckline, and just decided to fussy cut some of this out too, and just do a little, almost looks like a little collar, lacy collar. Now back to this piece of fabric. It has this, I think it's like a twill tape or some kind of tape that I believe that the wooden slats were. Like I said, I think this was a Roman shade. I'm removing some of that tape. I'm going to use some of that. But what's wonderful about this piece is it has a lot of hemming on it already. Like the edges are all finished off and hemmed. So I'm going to use that as my advantage on the pocket. I'm going to put a large patch pocket on the back side of this little bag. I cut my pieces, I believe they're 11 inches by 12 inches, so that is the size I'm using. And I've got the front and the back there, and I also have cut, I believe, the back patch pocket. But I do want to put a fusible fleece on the back side of each of these. I'm going to link all my products down below in the description, especially that little face stencil. It was pretty inexpensive, and it's going to be really fun to use. I cut another piece there for my lining, that plaid. Put a little patch pocket on that lining as well. And trimmed out that patch pocket with some of that tape, that lime green tape. Just ironing this whole piece on. Now this is Stencil 2, and so I'm using a lot of steam, and that is very important on Stencil 2. If you have problems with your needle gumming up, it means you haven't used enough steam. So just kind of keep that in mind. That temporary glue that is so wonderful is water soluble, and that does need to be removed with the steam. I'm just appliquing with white around that white block, and now I'm going to switch to a similar color. The thread is a similar color as my ink, my stamping that I did, or my stenciling. So it's that camel color. I didn't want to go too stark, and so I'm just going to, but I did want you to be able to see it. So I'm using that same camel color, and I'm just going to free motion. So I put my free motion foot on and drop my feed dogs. I have that camel color in both the top and the bottom. And I'm going to go around each of these little floral pieces and just do some free motion applique, and also doing some doodling in them. So I'm just adding some of the detail with the thread. I'll go in the leaves and some of the little petals on the little flowers. Just adding a lot of interest to this little cluster of flowers that I have for her hair. I really think this little stencil would be wonderful on so many little projects. That's why I'm really excited to have it. And like I said, I'll link it down below for you. Back to this tape that I picked off of this. I'm going to use that as part of my strap holders. So I'm just pinning them, folding them and pinning them about 2 inches down from the top. And I'm just going to put a really easy zipper application in. I've laid that zipper face down so the opening is on the left. And here I am with my lining, and I'm just going to sandwich my zipper in between my layers there, lining up all the edges. My zipper is a couple inches longer than my bag, and that will be cut off later. And I'm just going to stitch this, and I'm going to use my zipper foot, which is actually this is just my straight stitch foot on my sewing machine. And it's about 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to be going right down the center of that tape. But I'm going to line up my presser foot just on the edge there, removing my clips as I go. Just want everything all lined up and neat. And now I'm just going to finger press this. You can also just take it to your ironing board and press it good. You just want to make sure that that lining is nice and smooth. And then I'm going to top stitch this. Again, just using my straight stitch, which is about 1/4 of an inch away. And now it's back to pinning on my other side, just laying that so that my right sides are together and putting clips on and then I like to open up my zipper and then lay my lining in and then reclip it. That's just the easiest way I have found to do this. You want all the edges to line up, both on the left hand side and then also on the top. And then I'm going to stitch that and top stitch it. You can really see that patch pocket with that lime green trim on it. I'm measuring about a 1 inch little square on the corners, and I'm going to clip that out. I want to box my corners on this little bag. I just love that face. It just pops. The colors are so pretty. This fabric is on this Roman shade is a heavier fabric. It's more of like a decorator or upholstery type weight. And so it's just got a nice structure to it. Doing the same on the back side, just removing those corners, about a 1 inch square I'm cutting out. And now I opened up my zipper and I'm going to stitch the rest of this bag together. My lining is on the left hand side and my bag is on the right hand side. And I'm lining up my edges. My zipper is folded so the teeth will be towards the lining. And I'm just adding my clips. And I'll take this back to my sewing machine and stitch the sides and then across the bottom. But the lining, I'm going to leave an opening of about 6 inches on the bottom of that lining. I want to mention that I'm using a metal zipper here, and so when I get to my zipper, like right here, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to walk my machine over that zipper. This is, yeah, I don't want to hit my needle on that zipper because I know I'll break my needle on it. So just take your time with that zipper part, especially if you're using a metal zipper. I'm taking about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I'm off to finishing that side and then going across the bottom. Now this is the bottom of the main bag, so I'm not leaving an opening on that. back up the side here over my zipper, and again I'm going to walk it. And then here's the bottom of the lining, and I'm just going to do I'm going to lock my stitch by going back and forth, but leaving that opening. And then to box my corners, I'm just flattening them, opening up my seam, and I'm finger pressing those seams open, and then just stitching over that, taking about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Really easy to box corners, and it just adds a nice bottom or structure to your bag. So I did that. I boxed my corners in my lining as well. And now I left that zipper open so I can just turn this right side out. Getting that little tape that I'm going to use for my strap holder. I still have that hole in my lining, and so that's next. Just turn that under, give it a quick press, and we'll take this back to my sewing machine and stitch that shut. For the strap, I did miter. I cut strips about 3 inches wide. And this is going to give me a 3/4 inch wide strap. Folding it in half and then meeting that to that fold line. My strap is about 50 inches, and I just cut pieces of that Roman shade, but I did have to miter it. I did have to join that to get the length I wanted. Everything is done. I'm just going to take my strap now. I stitched both sides of that strap, so I've top stitched it, and then I want to just weed it through that little loop there that I created. That was a bit of a struggle. I did have to point the ends on it, and then I had to use a little pokey tool to get it in there, and then just tying a knot. And then these are, you can adjust these if you need them a little bit shorter. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. I do have some pictures here at the end. Again, I will list some of my supplies down below for you. This was just fun. It's just whimsical. Have a great day, everybody. Hope you have a chance to create. Bye for now.